Welcome to our strategic panel discussion. Today we're diving into Telstra's Connected Future 30, a strategy that represents a fundamental pivot from cost-cutting and simplification toward technology leadership and long-term growth. In this session, we'll unpack why Telstra made this move, what frameworks help us understand it, and how effective it might be in delivering lasting value. Each of us will take you through a distinct aspect of the strategy, examining it through various global strategy models like Pestel, Porter's 5 Forces, and the business model canvas. Let's get started.
Telstra is Australia's largest telecommunications provider, known for its national mobile network and international infrastructure. But whilst it's deeply ingrained in Australia, Telstra also plays in a global market, with operations, partnerships and regulatory influences that span 6 continents. This matters because today's strategic decisions don't happen in isolation and global perspectives are important. Telstra faces a competitive environment, constant and evolving technologies and significant developments in this space, together with significant regulatory pressures that are also shaped by global forces. As a consequence, its strategy needs to reflect that complexity. That's why Connected Future 30 is more than just a domestic growth plan, it's a reimagining of Telstra's place in a globalised digital economy.
The Connected Future 30 strategy, or CF30, sets Telstra's direction through to the year 2030. It builds on the foundational changes made under T22 and T25, but signals a clear evolution from reactive cost reduction to proactive value creation. The ambition is to be Australia's connectivity leader by transforming how Telstra operates, including deploying autonomous networks, embedding AI into operations, and expanding digital infrastructure leadership. This isn't just about improving current services. It's about preparing for a radically different connectivity landscape. Telstra wants to lead in this space, not just keep up. Although the new strategy has just begun, Telstra has committed itself in the long term, not only with board approval of this new strategy, but by putting words into action, including through significant financial investments over the next decade and beyond.
To understand Connected Future 30, we need to appreciate the journey. Telstra's strategic journey started with T22 and a plan designed to rescue and stabilize Telstra during a period of financial stress, customer dissatisfaction, and structural disruption caused by increasing government scrutiny and the continuing rollout of the NBN. It focused on cutting costs, simplifying plans, reducing management layers, and preparing for infrastructure separation. T25 built on that momentum, targeting customer experience and product innovation. It introduced more sophisticated customer experiences, expanded digital capabilities, and aimed for shareholder value.
But both strategies were reactive, addressing immediate needs and deemed to be quite successful in achieving the overall required or planned strategy. CF30 is now a shift towards long-term strategic ambition underpinned by the belief that value can be created through innovation, not just efficiency.
With the groundwork laid by T22 and T25, Telstra's Connected Future 30 launches the company into a new phase of transformation, one that is focused on technology leadership. This isn't just a continuation of previous reforms. It's a strategic shift toward innovation at scale. CF30 commits to a future where Telstra's networks are autonomous, software-defined, and AI-powered. The company is no longer trying to catch up. It's aiming to set the pace. The strategy reflects an ambition to deliver not just connectivity, but programmable digital infrastructure. With goals like reaching the top 25% of global enterprises in AI maturity, Telstra is signalling that its leadership is in network innovation, not just service delivery, and what it expects to be the new competitive frontier.
Modern strategic decision-making is incredibly complex. It's not just about internal goals, but about mapping and responding to a wider range of external forces. Today's strategists must incorporate economic shifts, global competition, regulatory change, social expectations, technological disruption, and environmental pressures into their planning. Telstra's Connected Future 30 reflects this kind of comprehensive thinking. The strategy wasn't formed in isolation. It's a response to a broader trend and threats that are reshaping not only the telecom industry, but the expectations of consumers, regulation setters, and investors.
That's why we are applying multiple global strategy frameworks in our analysis. These models allow us to break down that complexity and understand the pressure and priorities that shaped Telstra's choices. Good strategic decision making integrates internal strengths with external realities. For Telstra, decisions under CF30 are shaped by cost pressures, legacy systems, emerging technologies, and customer expectations. Two major elements including API first architecture being a major focus for this strategy that will underpin how they simplify, build, and bring to market, whilst at the same time reduce complexities, cost, and time to market. Additionally, the pivot to network as a product capabilities, including a focus on 5G Advanced, 6G, and more, making the network more software defined, programmable, and autonomous. At the same time, they must account for regulatory forces, evolving competition, and long-term shareholder goals. Strategic choices also reflect culture and internal appetite for risk. Telstra's decisions to invest heavily in AI and digital infrastructure rather than chasing in short-term margin improvements reflects a long-term mindset. The frameworks we are applying allow us to dissect these decisions in terms of both opportunity and risk.
Although Telstra operates primarily in Australia, it exists within a globalized telecommunications ecosystem. Standards, infrastructure suppliers, technology trends, and customer expectations apply globally. Telstra's competition now includes not just domestic players like Optus and Vodafone, but global technology giants like Starlink, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, who are entering network and edge service spaces. This is why Telstra must use globally competitive strategies, not just local ones. CF30 is an attempt to do exactly that, to benchmark against the best in the world. Applying global strategy frameworks like PESTEL, Porter's Five Forces, and the Business Model Canvas gives us the right lens to evaluate whether Telstra is on the right path.
These models shouldn't be treated in separate silos. As a result, we are blending the most relevant elements. From PESTEL, we look at the technological disruption, regulatory pressure, and political tailwinds. Porter's Five Forces helps us assess the threats from new entrants like Amazon Web Services and the bargaining power of customers and suppliers. The business model canvas will help us understand Telstra's shifting value proposition, how its customer relationships, key resources, and revenue models are changing in response to this strategic repositioning. Together, these tools give us a clearer view of what's driving Telstra's choices.
One of the less publicised drivers of CF30 is external pressures, particularly from the government. PESTEL reveals how politically and regulatory forces like the NBN rollout and spectrum reform have forced Telstra to restructure its business, including spitting out InfraCo and partly selling Amplitel. Porter's Five Forces show how suppliers, including regulators and vendors like Ericsson and Nokia, shape Telstra's strategy. The business model canvas reflects this as well, shifting key activities and partnerships. Telstra rarely mentioned these pressures directly in its public messaging, but they were a significant part of what made CF30 necessary. CF30 also reflects a bet on the future. From a PESTEL economic perspective, Telstra is investing in digital infrastructure and AI at a time of inflation and significant cost pressures, with Telstra essentially betting that these investments will deliver long-term returns.
The five forces framework shows why customer bargaining power is increasing and value now comes from differentiated intelligent services. On the business model canvas, we see a pivot in value propositions from commoditized access to premium digital infrastructure access. Telstra could have focused on short-term profit. Instead, it's banking on being future-ready, building autonomous networks, embedding AI, and creating new value streams. It's a strategic decision that carries risk but potentially high reward.
As mentioned, a critical and often understated driver of Telstra's strategy has been government pressure. Under Pestel, political factors are front and centre. The structural separation of Telstra through the rollout of NBN wasn't voluntary. It was strongly encouraged by the government and the ACCC. Telstra was essentially forced to divest its infrastructure business, leading to the creation of Infraco and Amplitel. From a Porter's Five Forces lens, this increases the bargaining power of suppliers as regulatory bodies now control critical assets like the spectrum, which the ACMA is currently reviewing. This is more evident now than has been ever before after the ACCC rejected the proposed spectrum and tower network merger with TPG Telecom. On the business model canvas, we can see Telstra having to restructure its key activities and partnerships in response. Interestingly, Telstra's own CF30 communications don't emphasize this pressure, but it's a vital part of the context. The strategy may look visionary, but in many ways it was made necessary by forces beyond Telstra's control.
CF30 also reflects a strategic bet on the future. From a Pestel economic perspective, Telstra is investing in digital infrastructure and AI at the time of inflation and cost pressure, betting that these investments will deliver long-term returns. The Five Forces framework shows why customer bargaining power is increasing and value now comes from differentiated intelligent services. On the business model canvas, we see a pivot in value propositions from commoditized access to premium digital infrastructure. Telstra could have focused on short-term profit. Instead, it's backing on future steady, building autonomous networks, embedding AI, and creating new value streams. It's a strategic decision that carries risk but potentially high reward.
Finally, CF30 is a response to growing competitive threats. Telstra is not just competing with Optus or TPG. It's defending against tech giants like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, who are entering the network and cloud space. Pestel highlights the technological and political factors here, including national security concerns. Porter's Five Forces show a landscape with intense rivalry and a rising threat of new entrants. Telstra's response is to lead, not lag. The company is targeting top-tier AI maturity and wants to redefine what network leadership looks like. In this way, CF30 is about defending relevance, growing value, and setting a new standard for the industry.